Hello and welcome to EBAday 2020. I'm Hannah Wallace and kindly calling into our virtual studio now to talk to us about why test automation is essential for ISO 20022 and how to get it right is Walter Schmölzer, CEO of UNIFITS. So welcome, Walter. Thank you very much for calling in.
Hello, Hannah. Thank you.
So this is a really interesting topic because UNIFITS has been on the market now for over 10 years and focuses exclusively on test automation for ISO 20022. So off the back of your extensive experience with ISO 20022 related projects, can you tell us why is the standard more than just a standard and why is the switch so important? Let's start there.
Yes, thank you again for that introduction. So I personally have been in this industry now for almost 30 years, and what is currently happening is without doubt the most far-reaching initiative. So yes, it is much more than just another standard. One crucial factor is that it is global. Another one is the universal applicability. So it can be utilized for all kinds of payments, so whether it be domestic, cross-border, executed in real time, in batch mode, or through an RTGS system. So what we are in the process of implementing step by step right now is an interoperable global payment ecosystem that will encourage the development of many new services. Instant payments, request to pay are just some of them and are some kind of the beginning. So as a result, no financial institution can afford not to participate. So a bank without ISO 20022 capabilities will be like a petrol station to which no road leads. The switch to this standard is not just important, there is simply no more choice. This new standard is the global basis for our future payment business.
Brilliant. Well, I really like your analogy there as well. And I assume banks have to manage a series of complex internal changes to prepare for migrating to the standard. Would this be a good assumption?
Yes, for sure, but certainly not all the banks are affected to the same extent. So it depends, for example, on how international their business is or what their current IT landscape looks like and so on. But one thing that can be recommended to all of them is that ISO 20022 must not be underestimated. So anyone who still believes that it is just another format to process payments will have a rude awakening. The truth is that no stone is left unturned in the payments processing, and there is massive impact also on liquidity management, complaint handling, client reporting, and so on and so forth. So another challenge we observe is the increasing difficulty to get the projects staffed. So sometimes it is for sure still a lack of attention from the management, but more and more often you simply don't find the right people with the necessary background and know-how. So this harmonization has a huge price tag and requires considerable efforts, but there is no doubt that at the end it will make a lot of sense.
Well, you've mentioned before that a majority of payment clearing and settlements will be based on ISO 20022 in the near future. Does this mean that testing will become easier due to harmonized processes and formats? What about that?
Yeah, exactly. So in general, to think about test automation is always meaningful, but not always it is also worth to be implemented. So costs and benefits need to be carefully weighed. Related to ISO 20022 projects, you might be forced to think a little more. Test automation will be one of the very few options you may have to speed up development cycles, to reduce risks, and to tackle the resource challenge. So you also should have in mind that this standard is very young and still volatile, and further new services will be created based on it. So for a long time to come, further developments and adjustments will be the rule, not the exception. When it comes to decision whether to implement test automation or not, you should allow for some time to get it right. Available solutions are not all the same. And the ongoing harmonization especially also act as a kind of accelerator for new industry-specific solutions. Such specific solutions offers significant advantages compared to traditional generic ones. Or heaven forbid, in-house developments, which are the worst case, by the way. You can believe we have seen it more than once that banks invest a lot of time, a lot of efforts, and in the end they throw everything away. But listen, it is by no means the case that people who develop such solutions internally do not have the right skills. They usually simply have totally different priorities. So as a conclusion on that, you may take that banks will have a significant added value through test automation, but only if they do it the right way.
All right, to summarize then for our audience, why is automation of testing of ISO 20022 so vital?
Yes, I already tried to mention is the automation is that vital because this is one of the rare possibilities to tackle this problem with your resources at the one hand, and then to enable your project to very easily repeat test cycles and to save time and to increase your speed with your development cycles.
All right, and finally then, how should banks plan for adoption of the standard and what are the essential considerations, do you think?
Yes, for sure. General advice is always hard to give, but first it is important to develop a kind of long-term strategy on how to integrate ISO 20022 in the existing landscape. Based on a profound impact analysis, usual considerations need then to take place, such simple things like make or buy, or operation by yourself, or use a cloud service, or even think about business process outsourcing. And not forget again to consider how to deal with the lack of available resources. So this may be, for instance, one of the areas that can be mitigated by test automation. So there are many decisions to be taken, and one thing you should always keep in mind, this is maybe as kind of general recommendation, conversion into an old format will only make sense in very specific areas or short term in order to gain time. But as a long-term solution, it will not make you happy. In that case, you might end up like a petrol station without road.
Again, very good analogy and some very good advice there. So Walter, you've certainly painted the picture for us. So I think we'll leave it there for now. But thank you so much for calling in and sharing your insights. It's been a pleasure.
It's a pleasure for me. Thank you.